Yeah.
Yes, Martin,
I had,
you were
I had
commenting.
another very quick question um, about this, the subject being in the gospel there, that people must have intuited in any case there being something there to be done, because people have always wanted to become sort of better people. And
Yeah.
there's been plenty of saints in the in the past, because you said all the concentration was on the object and not the subject.
Yes, of course, we had this understanding. If you look at the different spiritualities, if you look at especially, I'm thinking of the Greek fathers of the church. Their spirituality is extremely rich, and in fact, we inherit a lot from the Greek fathers, the eastern side of the Mediterranean. Um, did they? I think this is the question. Did they or haven't they had the intuition of what St. John of the Cross is saying? I would say, of course, I'm not accusing any person at all. Who am I? But I would like to answer in general. Did the church had the intuition of this change? I'm inclined to say that the church always had the intuition of the first purification. There's no doubt about that. The purification of the sense, the first liberation, absolutely. The majority, and this is the tragic thing, is that the majority of the stories of the saints focus on the writers who tell us about the saints are impressed by the first effort of the person to follow Jesus, to overcome the tendencies and the temptations and so forth, and then go through this new life. And I insist, it looks like a new life, but it still needs a little bit of, it still needs the further stage. Now, the further stage is very, according to the description of John of the Cross and some saints, I think of St. Teresa of the Child Jesus, not her trial, but the years before, the years before early 1893, for instance, for people who know her and so forth, and on many other saints. The focus is on this first liberation, and we don't. They write about this liberation. They are in awe in front of this new life. It seems a new life, but John of the Cross says, no, there is much more after that. So, yes, there is a focus on the liberation from the sense, but there is much less focus on the liberation of the spirit. This is what I would say. I wouldn't say nothing. That's not true. I was just reading this today, some passages from the Greek fathers. To a great extent, yes, this type of contemplation they describe is very close to John of the Cross. By the way, he quotes Dionysius the Pseudo-Areopagite, who is a Greek father. The developments that occurred after, I'm thinking of Saint Maxim the Confessor and others, Saint Gregory of Nyssa, the description of the apophatic perception of God and so forth. Maybe you don't know about it, but this is very classic and very present in the spirituality of the Eastern churches, especially the Byzantine one. But still, as I say, it's not hugely spread, and this passage from a human way to a divine way is not always underlined. No. So to answer your question, the first liberation absolutely is present and permanent everywhere in all the stories of the saints, the basic spiritual theology or basic sayings of the desert fathers, what we call in the East, in the West, desert fathers, in the spiritual masters, East and West. Yes, it is there. But now, to speak of further stages, it's very rare. So, and this is, I think, it is exactly the same challenge that he faces. He has people who come to see him who already went through this first perception of having to move from a sinful life or a life being attached to material things and so forth, you know, the classic conversion and the next steps after. They come because they started to experience an absence of God, which is very unusual. Now, do we have any literature talking clearly as he talks? No, very little. Maybe some passages in Tauler, but that's it, as far as I know. I'm not saying that the Greek fathers didn't talk about the unknown, the apophatism, or even the cloud of the unknowing, or the other things. I'm not saying that this doesn't exist. It does exist, but this is rather the intellectual, theological perception of God. But that's not only about that. John of the Cross is not just talking about how do we perceive God or the contemplation in itself. He's talking about the entire transformation of the human being. So what is at stake is immense. So is it mentioned? No, I don't think so. And if somebody who watches this and wants to underline something under this video, I'm absolutely happy to read it, hear it, and maybe change my mind. Why not? I hope. Wouldn't we want the gospel to be understood the best way? Thank you.
To be more grateful to St. John of the Cross.
Yes, 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 absolutely, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you for your question.